Hello, this is Dean and welcome to today's video. In this busy world in which we live, who has time for a pesky chainsaw oil leak? Sometimes it happens. Today I'm going to show you how I broke down a Husqvarna 455 Rancher and discovered and fixed my own oil leak. And I hope to arm you with enough information to where you can fix your oil leak as well. So let's get after it. We begin this video with the assumption that the bar and chain has been removed from the saw. As you can see, there's an oil leak while the saw is at rest, and our plan for this saw is to replace the oil pump hose. If you're unsure from where your leak originated, the oil pump hose is a good bet because it's notorious on this model for leakage. We begin by rotating the saw, revealing the cap to the chain oil tank. Unscrew and remove this cap, string, and clip by carefully pulling the clip out of the tank. Dump the oil tank contents into a disposable container, and then replace the clip, string, and cap. Now for this operation, the top cover must be removed, and that top cover has 3 screws. You can loosen them with your spark plug tool or just a regular flat-bladed screwdriver. Once loosened, lift and set aside this top cover. And now grasp, turn, and pull the spark plug wire from the spark plug. And grab your spark plug wrench once again. Take out the spark plug by turning it counterclockwise. Now we have to have a way to hold the piston in place for this next operation, which is the clutch removal. So we place about 6 inches of rope inside the cylinder, and this rope provides a soft piston stop. So we want to turn the clutch until the piston engages the rope. Now the clutch is removed by turning it clockwise. You can use a couple of wrenches to act as a fulcrum like this. But a better, quicker way is to order a clutch removal socket like this one. They're inexpensive, they'll save you a lot of time, and I'll post a link to the one I ordered. I just used an impact wrench with this tool to quickly remove the clutch. Now we remove the clutch drum and slide off the clutch needle roller bearing from the crankshaft. Unscrew the black pinion gear. This gear has threads on it and engages the clutch drum on top and the chain oiler worm gear underneath. Remove the Phillips screw that holds down this metal shield and lift off the shield, revealing the oiler pump and the oil feeder tube. Now I like to replace the metal shield screw to keep from losing it. The oil feeder tube is just a compression fit, so we can carefully pry it up and remove it. This tube may be checked for leaks as well. It's a good source. Next, remove the mechanical chain oiler pump. Grasp the oiler pump and lift it out, paying attention to the adjustment screw at the bottom. And once again, I like to replace the oil pump bolt. Now this is one end of the oil pump hose. This oil pump hose channels oil from inside the tank to this location where it's picked up by the oiler pump. This is the part we're going to replace. So to do this, we must next remove the handles, 3 bolts as shown here. Before removing the handle, we must first remove the throttle linkage. Note that on the right side of the carburetor is the blue throttle linkage lock. A close-up reveals that we must grasp the lock, pull it outwards, and pivot it upwards out of the hole that locks it in place. And then we can merely lift up the throttle linkage and remove it from the handle by pulling it through this rubber dust shield right there. Now we're free to pivot the body of the saw as shown, and lift the back up and out of the handle assembly. As we turn the saw up on end, we can see the oil pump hose. Let's take a closer look at that. This hose is held in place just based on a pressure fit. So to remove it, we grasp it with our pliers, twist and pull. Now here we see a cutaway of this part of the tube and how it looked on the other side if you remember. Now all we have to do is take a flat-bladed screwdriver and begin to pry the hose's collar from the oil tank. Now on the other end of this tube, you'll begin to see the white legs of the oil filter. And I tried to pull that filter through this hole, but it was too small. So ultimately, the filter pulled loose from the hose and fell back into the tank. However, this is not a problem, and let me show you why. All I did was turn the saw over, remove the oil tank cap again, tilted the saw a little bit, and voila, there was the filter. All I had to do was grab it with some pliers. A close-up of this filter reveals a small screen that fits onto the end of the oil pump hose. Note the ears that fit around the head. It behooves us to clean the oil off the bottom of the saw so we'll know when we have the leak fixed. After all, that's logical. In my case, I have to replace the oil tank cap. And we're going to turn the saw back over. Now here's the new oil pump hose, of which I will provide the link in case you want to order the same. Take your white filter, place it onto the end of the new tube. Next, apply sealant around the mouth of the oil tank opening. Now we take that same sealant and apply it around the collar of the new tube that will press into the tank. We're going to be careful here not to get sealant on that screen filter. Insert the filter and tube into the tank, being careful not to touch the sealant to the filter. And this is just the press fit of the collar of the tube. You can use both your thumbs to do this, but you want to examine the fit to make sure the tube is seated all the way around. Now if you end up seeing some sealant squeeze out, that's perfectly fine. Next, begin to twist and relocate the upper end of the tube back into its proper position as indicated here. Now as we begin reassembly, let's talk for a minute about how this mechanical oil pump works. The black rubber pinion gear removed earlier, which is driven by the clutch, turns this worm gear. Note how at the end of the worm gear it's been milled with one long and one short side. When the long side of the gear pushes against the post causes the worm gear to be pushed inward. When the gear rotates to the short side, the spring causes the gear to be pushed outward. This in and out motion of the worm gear causes the oil to be pumped from the tank to the chain. Remove the oiler pump bolts and place some sealant on the bottom end of the pump that will engage our new oil pump hose, being careful not to get sealant in the small pump hole. Feed the adjuster screw down inside the body of the saw. Now place some sealant on the end of the 4mm Allen bolt and secure the oiler. Now if we take a closer look at the oiler feed tube, you'll note that there is a round opening at the bottom, which when seated, circles the hole on top of the oiler pump. Place some sealant on the top of the oiler pump where contact is made and press the oil feeder tube into place as shown. Remember, this is just a pressure fit. Next, remove the Phillips screw that holds down the metal plate. And note that it is very important that this plate not be inappropriately bent, because it's the only thing putting pressure on the oiler tubes and pump connection. A bent plate could also be the cause of an oil leak, or no oil at all reaching the chain. Place the plate back into position and secure it with a Phillips screw. Next, replace the pinion gear by screwing it back down onto the metal plate. Now at this point, I like to spray some lubricant on the pinion gear and on the needle roller bearing. Place the bearing back in place. Now take note of the notches cut into the collar of the clutch drum. These notches sit over the top of the molded arms on the black pinion gear as shown, but you want to make sure the drum seats properly. Now it's a good idea to spray some lubricant here as well. Next, we want to rethread the clutch by turning it counterclockwise onto the shaft. And we want to reuse our clutch tool and impact wrench to apply light torque. Once again, counterclockwise. Remember, our cord is still draped into the spark plug hole, effectively holding the piston in place for this step. Next, we want to remove that cord from the spark plug hole and replace the spark plug. Remember, tighten it snug, but don't over tighten it with a spark plug wrench. Now we begin replacement of the chainsaw handle. One bolt goes here, and the second bolt goes here. I'll show you the third bolt soon. For now, take the handle and set it in place like this. Take the body of the saw and tilt it forward so the chain brake handle goes under the main saw handle like this. Then rotate the saw body to the right while sliding the spring portion of the handle inside the main saw body near the blue choke lever like this. Place sealant or blue thread lock on one of the 3 4mm bolts and insert it into the first location as shown, using light torque to tighten because you're tightening into plastic. Rotate the saw and do the same with the second 4mm bolt at this upper handle location, using medium to heavy torque because you're tightening into metal. The third and last handle bolt goes through the chain catcher and gets sealant and placement as shown with medium to heavy torque. The chain catcher is a safety device that prevents the chain from flying off the saw toward the user in case of chain breakage. Now we turn our attention to reattaching the throttle linkage. Thread the end of the linkage through this rubber dust shield. Slide the end of the linkage into the flat slot in the chainsaw grip as shown. Replace the rubber dust shield by sliding it down into its rails. Pull out and rotate up the throttle lock and pick up and place the other end of the throttle linkage in place as shown, then rotate the throttle lock down and click it into place. Place the spark plug wire back onto the spark plug. Now take note of the 3 screws that hold down the top cover. The chain lock handle may need to be pushed forward in order to properly insert and seat the cover. Once again, you can use your spark plug wrench or a regular flat bladed screwdriver to secure the 3 screws. Now don't forget to refill your chain oil tank. Now crank the saw, check for leaks, and this project is complete. I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I hope you picked up some tips and tricks that will help you in all of your how-to endeavors. Until next time.